Hello, thank you so much for being here and welcome back. This is another episode of the Successful Author Series, and I am yours truly, host and creator of this podcast, Latasha Jimerson. I'm an author, teacher, book coach, and motivational speaker. And today I have a very amazing guest. She is in the self-publishing space as I am. Very successful woman, mom, and human being in general. And I'm going to have her come on here and talk to you guys about being a successful author, number one, and about being a successful human, number two. I want you to see your story inside of our stories. And I want you to connect with her, and I want you to make sure that you do something to take action today, because you're not just here watching this just to be watching this. You are here to learn and grow, and you are here to get actionable steps so that you can literally go out there, write your book, put your book out into the world, and accomplish the things that you've been wanting to accomplish for so many years. Most of you that are in my community and following me on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube, you know my story. You know I've been writing and publishing since 2017. I've been coaching since 2018 and interacting and networking with people as a full-time entrepreneur since 2021. So today I want you to lean in and listen, grab your pen, grab your paper, get some water, sit back and relax. We're going to have a really good conversation today. And so coming to the stage is Miss Ashley Shepard.
Hello, hello.
Hello, happy Friday. Welcome to the podcast. How are you feeling today?
I'm good. How about yourself? How are you doing?
I'm awesome. It's a beautiful day. The sun is shining and I am happy.
Amen. Yes.
Yeah, so tell us, we're going to go a little bit out of order. We're going to talk about your book, and we're going to talk about your work, and then we're going to back it up and talk about you as the human being, so that people can kind of get a little glimpse into the behind the scenes to see who it is that we're connecting with today. So I am going to mute myself whenever it's your turn, because I don't want you to hear the Philadelphia traffic or any of the noise that's happening outside of my building. So yes, please give us a taste into the work that you've done and tell us about your books.
Absolutely. So first of all, thank you for having me. And I'm in Atlanta, so I understand the traffic situation. So yes, happy to be here. My name is Ashley. Like you said, I'm the owner of Shep Publishing House, where we help authors get from the page to the people with efficient and effective marketing strategies. And so I'm also an author myself, and I think that gives me a bit of a unique twist on things, because the typical book marketer is generally not an author. And so I understand what it's like. I just became an author in 2020, so not very long ago. And I think that's something that's also pretty inspirational to others who are becoming authors or in the process, or have already written their books but are not quite getting the sales that they want to see, to let them know that it's possible. It doesn't take all of your time and energy, but focusing on the right strategies are what actually moves the needle forward. And so I'm happy to be here and to tell my story to help to inspire others. So thanks for having me.
You're welcome. I love it. I love it. I want to talk about moving the needle, because today it's summertime. You know, the kids are out, people are going on vacations. It's hot. And people tend to get a little bit laid back and lazy around this time of the year. Like, people start to say, well, give themselves an out and give themselves an excuse not to get the work done. So I want you to really talk about what your journey was like when you were writing your book, because people don't realize just a little bit every day, just move the needle, like you said, a tiny bit every day. That compounds over the course of weeks, months, and years. And so what was it like when you were getting that first book done, and how was the process for you?
Yeah, so I know you said we're gonna wait to talk about like me as a person before, but it's gonna be woven in, because life be life in, like we know. So I started, like I said, in 2020, and my author journey is pretty non-typical. I'm not somebody who was like, oh, I've always wanted to be an author. that's not my story. I'm a former educator like yourself. I used to teach elementary school, and it was the start of the pandemic. So, well, actually, let me take a step back. So, my author journey happened as a result of doing an email challenge. So, this is not my first business. I'm also the owner of Chef Ashley Shep. And so I help busy moms get dinner done faster with quick, healthy, and tasty meals. And the way that that looks now, along with the author journey, is that I have a cookbook and then meal planning things and things of that sort. So, the way that my author journey came about is because I was doing an email challenge on the Daniel fast, which, if you all are not familiar with that, it's a 21-day change in eating habits that's coupled along with additional prayer time and faithing for something that you are looking to see happen and or just growing closer to God. And so did that as an email challenge back in 2018, 2019. And then someone who was a part of the challenge said, this needs to be a book. And so I thought, okay, well, all right, I'll make it a book. And so, so during that process of changing the email challenge into a book, I actually ended up writing a separate book in the middle while it was being published. And so that is my guided journal for first time moms. And it's called New Mom Thoughts, Real Questions for Moms with Real Feelings. And the context for that book, you talked about writing a little bit each day. So let's take a little field trip back to 2020. So I had my son in late 2019, and then he's 6 months old, and then the world shuts down, global pandemic, the social unrest, George Floyd's murder, things of that sort are all happening. And I'm the mom to a Black boy. And so stuck in the house, working from home for the first time with a newborn. And there's this pandemic that we really don't know what exactly is going to happen. We don't know how long we're going to be here. And so in general, as a first time mom, you already have like a certain level of anxiety and stress, just making sure that you are helping your child just blossom and glow and making sure they don't do all these things. And you already have all these questions. So imagine adding a pandemic on top of that. And then also the social unrest and things of that sort. And so I found myself in a state of having a little bit of anxiety, and I was looking for resources that could help to alleviate that. And so I turned to books because having the educational background, things of that sort. And I taught mostly literacy. I taught English language arts. And so just having a strong connection to that, journaling has always been something I've done as well. And so I wasn't really finding what I needed in the marketplace. So looking for books for first time moms who just had a lot of thoughts and feelings in their head, and they just needed to get it out so they could know they weren't crazy and things of that sort. And so I didn't find what I needed. And so most of the books for moms were either solely focused on the baby, or they were really snarky and like full of curse words. And that just wasn't my experience. I just had something where I had an unplanned C-section, and then I had a difficult time nursing. And so I needed a safe space. And so that's why I created the journal. And then during that process, what I thought was going to be the first book, but ended up being the second, the Daniel Fast Journal, came out 3 months after that. And so within 2020, I released 2 books within 3 months, which is bananas. I do not recommend that if you're a first time author. However, I'm somebody who, when I can't control what's going on outside, I really turn inward and do what I can't control. And so I'm like, okay, if I'm gonna be stuck in the house, I can do something. Like I can produce something. I can talk to people. I can live stream. I can have a book launch. I can help other people. And so within the first 2 months of the mom book coming out, I sold 200 copies. And then within the first month of the Daniel Fast book coming out, I want to say, I remember the financial stats, but I can't remember the number of copies. I want to say I sold 500 within the first month. But mom brain, don't quote me on that. But I have to go back and check the stats. But to date, that journal, that devotional has sold 4,000 copies in less than 4 years. And so it's also spurred a cookbook. And so that cookbook came out in this January. And so that's doing well as well. And so it's just something where, and mind you, I had another child since then. So within that 4 years, I've had 2 kids. I've changed jobs twice. And it's something where if it's important to you, and if it's something that is, I'm a believer, so if it's something that God's placed on your heart, then you got to get it done. And it doesn't mean that you have to get it done by yourself. It doesn't mean you need to get it done without help. Absolutely opposite of that. I have a great support system, thankfully. My husband's amazing. My mom helps out. And so it's something where if, like I said, if it's important to you and it's something that you feel like has been placed in your spirit and deposited in you, and you know it's going to help others, then you want to make sure that you prioritize that and make it so it's something that you set out time each day. So like you mentioned, like I said earlier, moving the needle little by little. So when it came to the mom book, breaking it down and saying, okay, it's a guided journal. So my first step, I got to come up with my questions. And for me, because I was the target audience, I didn't have to do a ton of research because I was in there living, breathing it, but I still reached out to other mom friends who were in the same situation. So they had kids that were 2 and under and said, okay, I'm writing this mom book. Can you check out these questions? And are these questions that would be helpful to you if you had just had a baby or were within your first year? Or is it something that could be adjusted? And even the cover design. So talking to other folks and saying, okay, these are the covers I'm thinking of. Is this something that speaks to you? And once again, asking for help, asking other people who are in that target audience or who can help support you, like a virtual assistant, or even having somebody come and help around the house if you're comfortable with that, or eliminating some of the things that are on your plate that you really are not needing to do, but you just have been doing out of habit. There's ways to carve out time, and there's ways to make it so that you have the space, the time, and the energy to get those things done. Because when those books first came out, I was teaching full time. We were transitioning to work from home towards the latter end of it. And then even when when the second book came out in December 2020, so I was working full time. I had a 9-month-old at that point. And then with the third book, the cookbook, I had a 6-month-old. So, and then a 4-year-old now. So it's like, yes, those are things that can not get in your way, but can be distractions. But you have to think, okay, what's my greater goal here? Creating freedom for myself, creating something that my sons can be proud of and understand, like, oh, they can do this too. Like my oldest, he likes to help package the orders with me. He's like, oh, who's this going to? I love your customers. And so it gives them something where you're not even realizing you're creating a generational habit by just being you and just doing the things that you feel like you have to get done. And so I just want to encourage you to understand that it's possible, essentially.
Beautiful. I want to go back. We covered a lot of ground and there's people watching. Hey guys, I see your eyeballs watching us. I don't know if you're on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube. So please engage with us. We're teachers. We love people to raise their hands and ask questions and talk to us and vibe. Like we don't have a script or we don't have a plan. We are on here sharing our hearts and bearing our souls, because that's what we do with our books, right? And we want to help you guys. So please tell me where you are watching this, what platform, tell me your name and where you're from. Give us some questions to talk about, because we will just share whatever it is that you want to share. I want to know about that other business that you had before you started the publishing company, because I'm just nosy like that. I love that you were serving moms. You were already in business doing something to help other people. I love that. Your kids were little during that time, but what was I doing? I was also doing Zoom school around that time. And my oldest was 20. So she was already out of high school, already in college. My middle one was in her senior year of high school. So that was a very interesting senior year, having to be at home. It was a hot mess. And then my youngest one was in 6th grade. So she just left elementary school, super social. And now she's at home being homeschooled by mommy. My kids were not happy with me.
Imagine.
They did not want to be home with me at all. Yeah. So I want you to say that title again for moms. I want you to say it slowly, because this is what moms are even going through right now, all over the world, everywhere. They're thinking to themselves, damn, am I crazy? Damn, these kids need to eat again?
I just bought food. The amount of money I spent on berries.
How many times y'all gonna eat today? Like that title just pierced my whole soul. So I want you to say that again, and I want you to just kind of get us back into that business that you had, that email campaign, because that really gave birth to something else, which gave birth to something else.
Yeah, yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. So, and that business is still operational. So it's Chef Ashley Shep. So Chef Ashley Ashley, and then Shep, same Shep Publishing House, Chef Ashley Shep. So that, and that's my name under all social media platforms and also website, just chefashleyshep.com. And so that came as a result of I just have always liked to cook, and even like growing up, easy bake oven and cooking on real stoves, but the easy bake oven with the light bulb that's 100 watts, so it'll cook the food, and the food's questionable. But um, so it called cooking growing up, and then just when I got married almost 10 years ago, my husband's diabetic, and so he was also a very picky eater. And my thought was, what am I going to feed him, because he doesn't eat much, and then also he's diabetic. And so that became something where I was on a journey to find things that are healthy, find things that are still going to taste good, and that you're looking forward to eating. And I'm, like I said, I'm in Atlanta. I'm from South Carolina, and so especially in the South, everything is deep fried, smothered, covered, scattered, all that jazz. And that's not really a sustainable way to eat. However, in Black and Brown communities, which is predominantly the focus of the audience that I work with, but of course, anybody can eat or cook my recipes, they're not complicated. Um, it's something that I was noticing and studying and learning, that the rates of high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, obesity, that previously it was believed that those were tied to genetics. And so you often hear, oh, well, Black people have a higher rate of these things, but actually it's more of a situational thing. It's more of a access to healthier options, knowledge of knowing how to cook those options, and then also still make sure they taste good. And so the focus of Chef Ashley Shep, and I'll say the whole tagline because I abbreviated it, but is to help busy moms get dinner done faster with quick, healthy, and tasty meals in order to combat rates of high blood pressure, obesity, and diabetes in Black and Brown communities to create generational health. So I know that's a mouthful. But with that, so I focus on recipes that are 30 minutes or less. And then also ones that really focus on understanding how to season your food beyond just, I won't call it names, but beyond just using salt, or beyond using things like Lowry or Sazone, that there's other herbs and seasonings and spices in addition to that, that can help you to make things like vegetables taste better, or making it so that you're not having to fry everything, or things of that sort. And so at the same time, I don't villainize food, because I love ice cream. I'm going to keep eating ice cream. I love French fries. And so it's just something about having balance and creating these situations, because our kid, or creating these habits, because our kids watch what we eat and they follow those same patterns. And so in order to not pass on a propensity to have things like diabetes, especially in my family, for my kids, it was very important to me to be able to not only help my kids learn how to cook, but also cook in a healthy way, and to have a positive relationship with food.
I love it. I love it. You said a couple of words that just poked me in the eye. Generational health.
Yes.
I love that. A lot of people talk about generational wealth, breaking generational curses. You're very proactive and preventative. You're like, no, let's talk about generational health. I like that. That's really cool. So, what do you think? Why do you think your books have been so successful? Like, does it have anything to do with the fact that you already had an existing audience? You already knew like what keywords and categories to use? What is it? You have a lot of advantages over most people when it comes to writing books, but what do you think is the main thing that gave you an advantage to having success?
So, your question reminds me to come back to the email challenge, because you did ask that before. But part of it is having the desire to learn certain things, just having an educational background, being a lifelong learner, but also before 2017, I had no business background. Like, I was a teacher, I was getting my master, or I got my master's in curriculum and instruction. And so in terms of design, I understand, like curriculum design, I understand that of teaching people how to do things. And if you can teach children, you can teach anybody. And so especially teaching kids how to read, that's a very complicated thing. So, but then also just having the desire to learn and dig deeper. So I didn't start that was my second business, but I didn't start Chef Ashley Shep until 2017. And even then, it wasn't necessarily focused on books. It wasn't necessarily focused on publishing. That wasn't my goal at the time. It was more so, let me make videos, let me cook people food. Because at one point I was in meal prep for families. Like I would make meals for families for delivery and pickup. And so when it came to the book side, having that audience and understanding the messaging that the audience needs was helpful. However, it was a different audience. So my food business audience is generally middle-aged moms that have 2 kids. They know how to cook, they just don't feel like cooking, or they don't know what to cook. That's not necessarily the same thing as like a new mom who they're not really worried about cooking, they're trying to survive. And so then also with the publishing side and the marketing side, that's a separate audience as well. That's authors which is what I do now, as well, which is authors who don't know who to sell their book to. They don't know how to talk about their book. And so I think each of them led and helped with the next one, but it wasn't necessarily something that was like, oh, just rinse and repeat. It was more so, I need to still research that audience. So anytime you're writing a new book or a book on a different genre or different topic, you do still need to do that research and to really try to understand what that audience needs or what that ideal customer needs. And that's actually something I teach in the summer sales series that I'm working on currently. So it's a set of 4 classes. The first one has already happened, but I can add the link to get access to that too. But essentially, the first one was creating raving fans. And that's how to know who your audience is, how to market to them, how to get them to be able to recommend your book for you, and to create it where they are just going to leave you a review. They're going to tell people about it, and they're actually going to finish reading your book. And so in order to do that, one of the things I did, you asked me how my book was so successful. For the mom book, that was my first book. I was a mom. I had a new baby. People were inside the house. It was a little easier to market that. And generally with your first book, people are going to be really, really excited and they're going to want to share your book regardless. So that's kind of like so ride that first book wave. At the same time, I was still strategic about having a book launch. So for each of my books, I've had a book launch. The first one was 6 weeks. The second one got interrupted by the first book because it was happening in the middle of the first book, but probably about a month. And then this most recent one was 12 weeks. And so each time there's certain things that I've learned to do or not do during the book launch process in order to push my book further or in order to reach the right audience, because your book is not for everybody. And that's the mistake that authors frequently make is, oh, my book can help everybody. Probably not. And I'm not saying that in a rude way, but just finding your people and finding your audience actually makes your book sell more. And so in terms of the first book, my New Mom Thoughts book, it was something where I know I had a strong mom audience of just friends. However, being strategic about people who are not first-time moms, how can they still support the book launch? So putting up posts that were like, okay, if you're not a new mom, but you still want to help with this book launch, comment below. And then with that, having something that's set for those people to be able to do. So making graphics for them is something that I did. So on launch day, they were able to post, giving them specifics of, okay, this is how you change your Facebook filter. I'm talking like directions of, here's a video, here's how to do it. Here's a filter that's already done for you to spread the word. Here are all the stats and the specifics about the book. So that way, if people ask you, you can tell them, here's the link for them to buy the book. And having that in a way that's easy for people to help you was definitely beneficial for me for that first book. And then moving to the second book, another mistake that authors often make is that they choose a book topic that is not something people are already looking for. Now, that's fine if your book is something for you. Like if you're like, I just want to write this book because it's been in my heart and I want to write it. I think it's just going to be for me. I don't care how much it sells. That's fine. If your goal is to reach people or if your goal is to make income from your book, consistent income, then you need to pick a topic that is heavily researched, that is something people are searching for, and it's something that people are going to be willing to spend money on. Because there's some topics where people are like, I'm just going to go to YouTube and YouTube University this, and I don't need to buy anything for this. And so with the Daniel fast, at the time of me doing the email challenge, I had only done the actual fast twice. And so it wasn't necessarily something that I was at that time that I was an expert in. However, through taking hundreds of people through the challenge, because I repeated the challenge for a couple years, and then hearing the feedback and getting the live feedback from people replying to the emails. And of course, with that one, it was also a God ordained situation. So that helped tremendously. But if you don't have that, making sure that you have, in essence, those people who were on the email challenge were, in essence, my beta readers, because that became the book. And so having beta readers, which are people who are going to read your book ahead of time, let you know if there's like plot holes, or if there's things that don't make sense, or if there's things that would have been helpful to include or to elevate. And sometimes beta readers will catch errors, like grammatical errors and things like that. But you still want to get an editor for that kind of thing. But having people actually read it and read it over the course of a period of time, as well doing that market research. So looking, if you're going to sell it on Amazon, looking and seeing, using software to look and see, what are people looking for? What is the demand for this? Using Google Trends, what is it that people are searching for about this topic? And so that's going to be something that helps you to also have products and services beyond the book and past the book, and not just within the book, to then be able to also refer people to. So really doing your research, and then also determining what your goal is for the book, because if it's something where you are just wanting it for yourself, that's a totally different game plan. If you're wanting it to impact people and to sell thousands of copies of your book, or to get bulk book orders, or to be seen in different platforms and to get features, then you have a totally different strategy that you need to put into place.
I love it, love it, love it. Thank you so much. So let's switch gears. And sorry, y'all can hear there's a swimming pool on the top of this building, and today I guess they're doing repairs, so you can literally hear someone hammering right above my head. So sorry about that, y'all. This interview is gonna happen regardless. So whatever you hear, you just hear it. Let's shift gears.
You're
Let's
fine.
talk about Ashley. Ashley, the person. Tell us about just what were your hobbies? What was it like growing up? Where are you from? Things like that. Like, give us a little behind the scenes into the person.
Okay. I feel like this is always when you go to like conferences or mixers and they're like, tell me about yourself. And you're like, what about me? So like I said, I'm from South Carolina, originally from Charleston, South Carolina. And I moved to Atlanta, Georgia in 2000. And so I was still in middle school at that point. And my mom's an educator. Both my parents are educators. My grandma was an educator as well, cousins. And so education was always like the thing in our family. And it wasn't are you going to go to college? It was, which college are you going to go to? And so once I came to Georgia, I ended up acclimating. I was, and this sounds so braggadocious, but I was one of the popular kids, but not popular in the sense of I'm being mean to people popular, but just like genuinely caring about people and sticking up for people and things like that. And so like, and I don't like best all around prom queen, that kind of stuff. But anyway, and so it was something where for me, school was pretty easy, but also because coming from a family of educators, education was important. So there were certain supports put in place for my family to make it easier for me to be able to be an educator. And so I went to college, graduated from the University of Georgia, and there met my husband. He transferred from Morehouse and his sophomore year. And so then we met, and then got married shortly after college. And so we decided to stay in Georgia because both of our families are here. My mom's still here, and then his parents are still here as well. And so in general, I've always been somebody who likes to teach. And from the standpoint of even in high school and college, I was tutoring other folks, and it was just something that came naturally to me. And so that's something that I've carried into both of my businesses. Is not only am I going to tell you like what to do, but I'm going to show you like the why behind it, of why am I using this seasoning, or why did I decide to publish my cookbook in spiral, hardcover, paperback, printable, PDF, and ebook? Like, what's the rationale behind that? And I think that's something that's relatable to people, because often in the business space, people just tell you do this, this, and this. And I'm the type that's like, well, I mean, but why are we doing that? Like, is that really always the best blanket advice? Is it always something that's going to work? Does it shouldn't we be testing that? Um, and so I'm very much an analytical person, and sometimes to a fault, but it's something that helps me to be able to see things that are out of place. And so, like my hair, like I'm fighting the urge to like even it out, but as I see myself on the recording, but I'm very much somebody who can see things that are out of place and see things like, okay, let's fix this, and this. And it can be something where it might seem critical, but it's more so it just stands out to me, and I want it to be kind of like a balanced type thing, if that makes sense. And so authors will come to me and say, okay, can you help me fix my Amazon listing? Or can you tell me what's wrong with my website? And I'm like, oh yes, I love doing that, because it pops out to me of like, okay, these 3 things need to be adjusted. Once you do that, then everything will kind of be in balance. So
I love what you do. I absolutely love what you do, because for me, when I coach people, I am deep in the weeds with them with developing that manuscript. And so when we're done, they are exhausted and they're like, okay, I have a book now. What do I do? And I'm like, oh yeah, there's marketing too. And they're so exhausted from the production of the manuscript that they're like, I don't even know where I'm going to get the space to talk about marketing because I just finished writing. And I was the same way when I wrote my first book. It was my memoir. I just put it out because I wanted to put it out. And I didn't even think about marketing until like 2 years later, when it became crickets. Like nobody cared anymore. And I was like, oh, maybe I should have been doing something about that. So that's why I'm glad that we're having this conversation, because people in my community there's 2 groups. The one group where it's your first book, they're thinking about it, they're researching it, and they're just taking notes. And then there's my other community, your next book club, of folks who already have the first book done. Now they're looking at the mistakes and the loopholes and where they could have done better. And so they're like either writing another book, or they're going back and they're revamping that original book, which is so powerful, because when you have content already, it's a needle, like you said, it's a move the needle type of thing. You can go back and revise and redo and republish and all that. So I love this conversation. We could talk about this all day long, but I do want to wrap it up, and I do want to get people into the action mode. So they've heard from me, they've heard from you. I want them to really walk away from this conversation with some actionable steps on what they can do now. Doesn't matter where they are on their journey, but what can they do to learn more about you and your business?
Sure, yeah. So on all social media platforms, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, my handles are Shep Publishing House. Um, and then for the food side, if you're like, I want to learn about that, then it's Chef Ashley Shep. And so I would encourage you to either start with YouTube. There's tons of content over there in terms of helping you to be able to know how to market your book, what kind of things to look for, and even if your book's already out, how to go back and kind of make those adjustments like you mentioned. So for example, one recent video I shared, I think last week, is one where I've gotten over 200 reviews on my Daniel Fast journal. And so, and over 4.5 stars. Um, and so I share tips. Thank you. I share tips for how you can get more reviews. Or if you are someone who has not finished your book, there's a video over on YouTube that talks about when to start your marketing. Because if you're starting when your book is out, you honestly are starting later than you really could be. And you're making it harder for yourself, because there's certain things you can do ahead of time in order to document the process. So it's more of an easier flow than just, okay, I climb this mountain writing the book. Now I got to climb another mountain doing marketing. Instead, they can actually happen synchronously. And so those are 2 options. But if you are someone who's like, I'm ready to work with you, I need immediate help, I need to get started, or you are coming off the heels of working with Coach LT and want to be able to start your marketing while you're doing your writing, then I encourage you to go ahead and schedule a consult call with me. And so you can visit my website, sheppublishinghouse.com. And then on the contact page, there's a form there. You can pick a time on my calendar. I do free consults for those who are ready to get started and or just want a little bit more information and want to know if I'm a good choice for you. Then you can go ahead and pick a time there.
I love it. I love it. And this is how I want y'all that are still watching. Thank you for we still got people watching us. All these minutes, what is it, 35 minutes? Thank you guys. We appreciate you. And there's a need for this. And that's why people were so interested in this topic, because people want to know, how do I get started? When I'm started, what should I be thinking about? Because the publishing umbrella is huge, and if you don't have a team, or if you don't know anyone who's embedded into the industry, you can get lost in the sauce and go down a rabbit hole of YouTube, of Google, blogs. That's what I was lost in the sauce in 2017. I was like, what is going on? And then I was listening to a couple of gurus that were the big names in the market at that time. And they were saying things like, well, you're not really going to make any money until your fifth book. And I was like, what? What the what? I just wrote one and that was hard enough. Ironically, I did continue to write, and I did produce a fifth book. And that was when the money started rolling in. So they were correct, but not for the right reasons. Because it was like, wait a minute, the more I write, the more money I get? Like, no, that's not at all how it works. It's like, you got to squeeze the juice. This is what I tell people now. You have to squeeze the juice out of that one book. You got to squeeze it. You got to let that first book finance the next book, if that's what you want, right?
Yeah.
If that's your goal, but you got to have a goal. So one of the things that I've learned to do, and I love that email challenge. One of the things that I've learned to do is to host 5-day writing challenges, so that people could at least get started, at least put something on the page, because we live up here. We're all in our own heads. And so I love to get people in a room for a 5-day challenge. I love to teach them how to use a little bit of AI to come up with their target audience, come up with a little title, create something really, really quick, put it out in 5 days, get it beta tested if you can. But I love to just get people started. So what the overlap between what you do and what I do is, and I know people are wondering, like, wait a minute, don't they do the same thing? Like, I've learned from teaching history first. I taught history first, and then I taught English second. And then I taught psychology and finance. And all of those subjects go together. That's why I wanted to ask you about who you are as the human, because I'm noticing that all of this stuff is full circle. It's all coming together full circle. And then I did a semester in law school, and my favorite thing was intellectual property. And I couldn't figure out why. And now here I am, full circle, talking to people about copyright, talking to people about, how to protect yourself from being pirated, from being, things being stolen. And so these are all conversations that are happening in my community. And I know you're talking to your people about the same thing. But hey, guess what, y'all? You can work with us in tandem. You can work with us at the same time. You could be developing a manuscript with me and be knee deep in the woods and go have a consultation with Ashley, so she could tell you what you need to be thinking about as you're going through the writing process. Because you heard her say she had 3 books put out, like boom, boom, boom. You can do that if you have support and if you have a flow. You got to be in flow. I don't necessarily say work-life balance, but I say harmony, work-life harmony. And there is a creative flow state that you can get in if you're in the right room with the right people. And so y'all are here. You're still watching. You're in the right room with the right women. And we are on purpose. We're both Christian women. We are on purpose. We know our purpose and we know our assignment. And so if you're still here, thank you for connecting with us. Thank you for watching this. Share this video with an author who hasn't given birth yet, because if they haven't given birth yet, it's because they're scared. They don't know what to do. And they don't want to make a mistake. Okay, so we're here. We got you. It's all good. Okay. All right. So tell us what you got coming up. What do you want them to know? We got your following at the bottom. Are you hosting any more challenges or having any events or anything to where they can get in your world other than the consultation?
Yeah, of course. So it's still summer, so I am doing my summer series marketing masterclasses, and so it's a set of 4 masterclasses where I focus on really the most common topics that I see authors struggle with. And so the first one was last week, and it was called Creating Raving Fans. You can still catch the replay. And it helps to really break down how people operate, where they can be found, and how to get it easier. Yes, because that's one thing I find is that authors are trying to sell their book to the wrong people, and then it makes it so much harder. And so that's the first class. And then the next class that I will be having, which will be next week, is Book Marketing 101. And so I'm talking, if you are like, I hate marketing, I don't know how to market my book, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing, then that's the class for you. I'll break it down and go over book marketing basics so that way you feel confident and know why you should be doing certain things, going back to the why, and how to do those things. And then the next class will be about how to wake up to Amazon sales. And so I know folks are like, and I know you said something about it too. And I know we'll talk about that later, but about Amazon can be a love-hate relationship.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
so, however, it's something where we don't want to neglect it entirely because Amazon is the world's largest bookstore. They're the world's largest retailer. And so that class will talk about how to get found on Amazon without you having to do continuous effort. And so more of a situation of, oh, okay, I got some sales. Let me go roll over and do something else, or let me go back to sleep type situation.
Right.
And so showing you how to get found with the right keywords and categories, right description, and then also what things your Amazon listing needs to have to actually get pulled up by the algorithm. Because yes, Amazon has an algorithm to be pulled up on there so people all over the world can find you. And then the last class will focus on bulk book orders. And so this is a great topic if you're an introvert and you are like, I don't really like social media all that much for book marketing. Or you're like, I'm not trying to get single sales of books. I want to sell my book in the dozens, the hundreds, the thousands. And so this will show you how to get book sales with different organizations, nonprofits, things of that sort. That's actually something that I'm able to sell a good bit of my books with through churches, of course, with my Daniel Fast book, and also to consider different things you can couple with that in order to not just sell your book, because your book is just the beginning. There's lots more you can do beyond that to increase your sales in general to cover your publishing and marketing costs. So um, those classes are each $99 at the time of this recording, or you can get the bundle of 4 for $300. And so I will comment on this post on all the different platforms to give you the link. Or if you just shoot me a message and just type in sales, then I'll send you the link directly.
Beautiful. Woo-wee. You have a whole menu of options for people to join. It's delicious.
The food side's coming over to the publishing side. Yep.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so we are completely out of time. We're way over time, but I want to know, what's your favorite scripture? Let's leave everybody on a scripture.
Okay, yeah. So this is one from my family. So it was my grandma's favorite, my mom's favorite. Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Trust the Lord with all your heart. Do not lean into your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths. And so that's just been the guidance of trust God during this process and understand that he already knows what's going to happen. You just don't know. So you just got to get on the same page and see what he wants for you to do.
Ooh, amen. Thank you so much for stopping by today. I love your story. I love what you're all about. And y'all, she is in the Facebook community. So don't be shy. Don't be afraid. Reach out to her. Take a look at her courses. Definitely be of support, because this is the law of reciprocity, y'all. You support us, we support you. We're able to support more people when you share our content. So thank you very much. This has been a lot of fun, and we are going to go. We're going to go backstage and have another conversation, y'all. So y'all have a good day. We'll see you in the next episode. Bye now.